Despite being arguably the most prominent Muppets from their respective series, Kermit the Frog and Elmo have not interacted all that much over the years. While Elmo was rising to prominence in the late 80s and early 90s, Kermit was sort of being phased out of Sesame Street. And nowadays, Kermit legally can't be in Sesame Street due to Disney owning the Muppets and Sesame Street being its own separate entity. In fact, in the history of the two characters, Kermit and Elmo have only ever appeared in 4 sketches together, all 4 of them releasing in the late 80s, some of Jim Henson's final appearances as Kermit on Sesame Street, and some of Kevin Clash's first prominent appearances as Elmo. And today, I want to look through all 4 of these sketches, review them, and rank them from worst to best. Hello everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of Sketch Showdown. This is the series here on Uptown Funk, where we review sketches and rank them from worst to best. I'm your host Ty, as always, and thank you all so much for voting on my recent poll. This was actually the winner of a poll. So shout out to you guys for picking this. I think it's going to be so interesting to look at this because we're looking at a time where Elmo isn't really an established character and Kermit is sort of ending his tenure on Sesame Street, and having these two characters interact is so rare to see. So it's going to be really fun and interesting to take a look at all of their appearances together. So without further ado, let's get started with the sketch that I think is in last place. In last place, we have Happy and Sad. One of the most common types of Kermit sketches on Sesame Street were his lectures, where he would educate viewers on a variety of different topics. Kermit on Sesame Street was always kind of the straight man, very straight-laced and trying his best to be friendly but also professional. He would often be paired up with comedic foil characters like Cookie Monster and Grover. And while not all of these sketches are lectures, Elmo does act as a comedic foil to Kermit in all 4 of the appearances we're taking a look at today. You have to remember that this is not current Elmo. Current Elmo is basically the main character of Sesame Street and a curious, creative, and friendly character that kids can sort of see the world through. This is mid-80s Elmo, where he's a lot louder, more bombastic, more intentionally annoying, and barely speaks in cohesive sentences.
But
Cream
first,
frog flavored Elmo!
well, yes, but
Elmo very happy,
yes, okay,
happy,
good,
happy.
Elmo.
There's certainly a charm to early Elmo, but it kind of took me back when I first revisited these sketches. I forgot just how different the character used to be. And here, of course, Elmo being annoying is really played up, so you have some good comedy with him and Kermit. This sketch in particular is in last place, not because it's bad, but because it's a bit generic and repetitive. Kermit wants to teach the audience about Happy and Sad. He's interrupted by Elmo, who wants to play with Kermit. Kermit says he can do it, and Elmo is happy. But he says, not right now, and Elmo becomes sad. And he says, oh, I'll play with you later, and Elmo becomes happy again. It goes on a couple of times for about 3 minutes. It's a pretty generic Sesame Street sketch setup and concept, something that I feel we've seen many, many times on the show over the years. And of course, at the end, Kermit realizes that Elmo has already demonstrated the emotions for the audience, and so they go off and play tag, which is a very fun ending. This sketch isn't all that funny. It certainly gets the educational point across, but really the only joke is how bombastic Elmo's reactions are, which could easily come off as annoying instead of funny. I also think it goes on for just a little bit too long. This is almost 3 minutes, and again, it is just the same joke and the same point repeated, which is important for an educational purpose, but it's really not all that entertaining compared to the other sketches we'll see here. In third place, we have Quiet and Loud. This is very similar to the last sketch. Kermit wants to teach the audience about Quiet and Loud. Elmo comes in, wanting to play with Kermit once again, and he is very loud, so Kermit asks him to be quiet, and eventually the two get into an argument, both becoming way too loud, before agreeing that they have to be quiet together. This sketch plays around a bit more with the Kermit and Elmo dynamic, with Kermit trying his best to educate, and Elmo just being annoying and trying really hard to help, but failing. We even have a classic Kermit freakout here as he starts screaming over Elmo, which makes him realize that they both have to start being quiet, and they proceed to whisper a lot of the next part of the sketch, which is really funny.
Today I want to tell everybody about loud and quiet, and unfortunately I don't need your help. You see. Elmo.
Mr. Green Frog, now
Elmo.
Elmo's help.
You're loud again, Elmo. Don't talk so loud.
Please,
Elmo, you gotta talk quieter. Elmo, will you please be quiet? Elmo!
Mr. Green Frog talks very loud at Elmo.
Well,
Hurt Elmo's feelings.
I'm sorry, Elmo.
Elmo talks very quiet now on.
Good. Okay. You talk quiet. I will talk quiet too, Elmo.
Okay.
And in the end, once Kermit is done, Elmo still wants to play with him and starts chasing him around and offering him different food? What?
Oh, come on, Mr. Green Frog. I'll give you apple.
Elmo,
I'll give you banana.
stop following me.
While this sketch is certainly a bit too similar to the previous one, it does some pretty fun stuff with the character, and I think it fits right here in spot number 3. At spot number 2, we have ideas for games. While this looks like and is kind of formatted like a traditional Kermit lecture, it's actually a Sesame Street news segment. Reporter Kermit has been sent out on the street to find local youths and ask them what new games they're coming up with. Of course, he runs into Elmo, who's doing this. And while the setup for the sketch and the concept is fairly weak, especially by Sesame Street News standards, because Sesame Street News has some absolutely legendary segments, Kermit and Elmo's chemistry here is genuinely so good and so funny. You can tell it's just Jim Henson and Kevin Clash having a good time.
Let me think.
Take your time. Don't take that much time.
It feels almost ad-libbed in some places, and I wouldn't be surprised if part of this sketch was. For example, Kermit says ideas for games, and just his sort of typical Kermit drawl, and Elmo repeats it that way, so they keep saying ideas weirder and weirder as the sketch goes on. It just feels like two friends messing around as these characters.
Do you have any new ideas for games?
Ideas?
Yes. An idea is a thought in someone's mind.
Not all that much happens in this sketch. It really is just a lot of comedic back and forth, but eventually Elmo does come up with a new game. He decides he wants to play a reporter game.
Reporter game? What's that?
Yes. This is Elmo of Sesame Street News.
Elmo, I don't think this is a good idea. You're playing reporter.
This is a good idea.
It's a
Frog
bad
does it
idea.
all the time.
It's a bad idea. Give me back my microphone.
No.
And he and Kermit end up fighting over the microphone as the news segment ends. Well, the concept is pretty strange, and as a Sesame Street news segment, it is pretty weak. As a Kermit and Elmo sketch, this is genuinely so fun and so funny. It doesn't have any of the repetitiveness that the other ones feel like they have, and Kermit and Elmo's chemistry is just so strong here. This was actually filmed the same year as the other two sketches, 1986, but it was filmed 10 months later. Those first two sketches were filmed in January. This one is from October, and I think you can really see the relationship of these two characters evolving and just how fun they are to watch together. It really makes me wish that we saw more of Kermit and Elmo together. And finally, at spot number 1, we have Post Office Closed. I can't even begin to talk about how perfectly this sketch uses Kermit and Elmo together. It builds on what we've seen in all the other sketches and just goes with it. Kermit is at a post office ready to mail a package, but then Elmo walks up wanting to help Kermit, directly referencing the fact that Kermit typically turns to the audience and tries to teach them things.
You know how you always say, hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here, and today you know how you do that?
Yeah.
I just love the in-universe reference to Kermit's lectures here. Lectures that Elmo has, of course, disrupted on several occasions by now. Elmo desperately wants to help Kermit teach something, But while he's rambling, the post office ends up closing. A disappointed Kermit tells Elmo that he can teach them something. In fact, he's already successfully demonstrated it. The difference between open and closed.
Elmo, there's something that we can demonstrate together.
Oh, good. What's that?
Closed, Elmo.
Everyone loves a good Kermit freakout. We had one earlier on in the video during the Quiet and Loud sketch, but I think there's something to be said about how funny annoyed Kermit could be. He becomes so passive-aggressive towards Elmo here. I just love him telling him, yeah, okay, well you did demonstrate something educational. And Elmo is so happy to hear this.
Wonderful! Elmo helped Kermit with the sign closed. Oh, Elmo's so happy.
Elmo, watch it.
He's so happy to hear that he taught people something that he runs up and accidentally knocks over all of Kermit's packages before saying thank you and walking away. I think this sketch has a really great combination of educational and comedic elements. On the educational side, we have a lesson on open and closed. And while Sesame Street teaches opposites all the time, in fact we've seen them in 3 of the 4 sketches in this very video, I really like the immediate real-world application of the opposites here. They're demonstrating open and closed by showing a location and explaining to kids that if a place you want to go to closes, you can't go back until it's open again. As Kermit explains to Elmo, he'll have to mail his packages tomorrow now. And on the comedic side, I think this is absolute gold. The best these two characters have ever been together. This sketch was actually the final Kermit and Elmo sketch made, being filmed in December of 1987, almost 2 years after the first one, which was filmed in January of '86. At this point, these two characters have an established relationship, and this sketch plays with their dynamic the best out of any of the 4 of them. Elmo really wants to help Kermit, Kermit doesn't want the help, Elmo ends up messing up what Kermit's doing. You can also see that in the time since their last sketch together, Elmo's character has started to evolve a bit more. He's speaking in far fuller sentences and is a lot less intentionally annoying. The annoying aspect of his character coming from a more childlike wonder and willingness to help. Elmo is still annoying for comedic effect, but it comes off a lot more genuine and a lot more like a kid wanting to help. And Elmo speaking in fuller sentences, I think, really helps allow both characters to have some really funny lines. I also really like how this sketch references Kermit's tendency to do lectures, and I also like the fact that Elmo started calling Kermit here. In the other sketches, he calls him Green Frog, and here it's kind of sweet to see that he knows Kermit by name now. I think that is partially because the characters have interacted several times, and also partially because, well, like I said, Elmo's character has started evolving. I really wish that we got to see these characters together a bit more, because this sketch really shows just how great they could work together. It's a shame this is the final one. But I'm sure a combination of factors, including Jim Henson not being on Sesame Street too much in his later years, Jim Henson's passing only a few years after this, and Kermit not being used on Sesame Street as much in general, probably all contributed to that. But while these two iconic characters didn't meet up all that much, I think we have to celebrate the times that they did meet, and all of the times that Elmo annoyed our dear Green Frog. Anyway guys, thank you all so much for watching this video. Let me know which of these 4 sketches is your favorite down in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.